Hi everyone, in this video we'll be implementing the cat object, the cat class rather. I will show you how to write code to implement this cat class. So I have week 5 OOP cat. OOP is object oriented programming. So we are going to write a class for a cat and create the snowbell, tiger, jingle, those three cat objects from this cat blueprint. And then we are going to add some methods and properties for this class. Anytime you have doubts, just let's keep referring to this. So we are going to create cat. Cat's gonna have some of these three properties and then these methods. That's what we are going to do. So far we have been writing code in main.cs. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to say add a file and then we will call it cat.cs. So when we do this, we are not getting any code to use. So you can just say using system. That's the first thing you have to write. So like this one. And then you have a class and then whatever goes inside, right? So in our cat class, we will say, instead of main class, we will say cat. So when you write a cat class, unlike this console app, which has this method, we won't have this method. Okay, let me explain what I mean. The structure is going to be like this. So So we have the cat class that's different than this main.cs. Okay, this is the main.cs. This is going to be cat.cs. Okay, so this cat class is going to have properties, methods, and then one other thing is going to be called as constructor. Okay. And then once you create this blueprint in this main.cs, create snowbell object, create jingle object, create tiger object, and then we will say snowbell make snowbell purr, make jingle eat, and then here we'll say make tiger play. Okay, so this is not the cat class, this is the cat class. We are using the cat class here. Okay, so we will make it of this type. So all these three will call these methods, but this is the cat class. Okay, that's why you need two different ones. So we have this one and then we have this one. Okay, from the main or any other file, you can call this cat class. So the cat class will have its own file and then we have the main.cs. So please understand the difference here. So we have main.cs and there is a method, and this is where we'll be calling So that's what we are going to do in this main method. Okay, now let's go to our class. So now let's think about our cat. Our cat is going to have Okay. These are going to be the so these are going to be the three fields that define the cat. So let's go define them. So I'm going to say, so here remember, if you want a cat class, it has to be called as class cat. So now let's think about it. Name is a string, age is an integer, ID is integer. Okay. So when you don't say anything here, it means these three are private variables. A private variable means inside this cat class, you can have methods that call the name, ID and age. But outside the cat class, like from main, you cannot use those properties for fields. Okay, so these are going to be local only inside the class. Okay, this is called as encapsulation. Encapsulation means anything that belongs to the cat can only be modified inside the cat class. They are all put together in a nice packet. Okay, so let's not hang there. You will understand as we go further. Let's now look at the next thing in our diagram. So this guy, what is this guy all about? We did this one. Now we look at constructor. So anytime you want a cat, you have to create the class. So when I say create, basically what happens is, see, we are not creating an actual cat, right? That only like a mommy cat only can create a baby cat. So we are not creating a cat, we are creating a placeholder, okay, for a cat object in the computer's memory. So basically a constructor would be where you would decide what should the ID of the cat be, what should the name of the cat be. So any time you create a Snowbell object, a cat called Snowbell, when you create a cat called Snowbell, that cat, when you create the object, the constructor will get called. And then it will set the name to Snowbell, age to 5, and then the ID to 1111. Okay, a constructor is required inside a class to set some of the attributes. These are the attributes, right? Features. To initialize the value, we use the constructor. If you don't have any constructor, C# will automatically create a dynamic constructor, okay, so that the object can be created. Okay, so let's go here to our code. A constructor will have the same name as your class. Okay, so anytime a new cat object is created, to write to the console. Okay, it is totally, maybe it should set the ID of the cat. ID should be set to 0. Age should be set to 0. Okay, if nobody is giving us any value, this is what we are going to do. We will set the ID to 0 and age to 0. Oh, but I know Snowbell's age, I know Snowbell's name, I know Snowbell's ID. So I know information. Why can't I give that information to this constructor? Yes, you can. So what you can do in that situation is you can write another constructor called cat. This constructor will take all these three values that you give. string name. Okay, string cat name, int cat ID, int cat age. So this is called as a constructor that has no parameter, which is the default, and this is a constructor with parameters. So these we are passing the value. So I take this cat name and throw it inside this name. That's the job of this constructor. So I will say my name equal to cat name, my ID equal to cat ID, my age equal to cat age. Okay, so this is where if you provide all this information, if you already know it, I will make it the same as the information you give me. If you don't give me anything, I am going to make these things as 0. You can even set the name to unknown. Okay, now how do I test this? How do I know if all this code works? You go to your main.cs, and then here is the fun part. Cat, that's the name of the class, Snowbell equal to new cat. You guys already know about this. Okay, the new keyword we used for arrays, it's similar to that. You have to say I'm creating a new object of the type cat. So here's your choice. You can either go with this guy or this guy. If you go with this guy, Snowbell will not have any name, nothing. But if you go with this guy, then Snowbell will have a name. So let us give the name. Age, is that age? What is the order? The order matters. ID and age. So the ID is going to be 1111. Age is going to be 3. Now Snowbell got created. Okay, if you have a cat that's completely unknown, you don't know what this cat is. So you can say cat unknown equal to new cat. That's it. This is called as constructor with no parameters. Constructor with parameters. Okay, so this will set the name ID, name to unknown, ID to 0, age to 0. This will set the correct values. Sometimes you have to use the no parameter one, sometimes you have to use the other one. Okay, so this is when you write this line, constructor gets called. This is how you create this variable called unknown to store a cat. Before we were storing a string, an integer. Okay, before we were storing, what were we storing? We would say string name equal to name. This is how we were doing simple objects before. Then we did arrays. That's the second one. Now we are doing objects. Okay, an object is also going to be a variable, but it stores not just a string, not just an integer, but it is storing a whole bunch of different data as it relates to a simple object. Okay, that object here is called cat. So it is storing all these information for the cat. Okay, so when this is the 0 parameter, no parameter one, and this is the parameter one constructor. Okay, now just so we can test it, I'm going to write a method. A constructor is different than a method. A constructor has the same name as the class. Other methods don't have the same name. A regular method will be like how we wrote the methods and functions last week. So public void intro. That's a method. Console.write line. You would just say name So this is a method that just writes the name, ID and age of the cat. Okay, how do we call it? You would call it from here. You would say unknown dot intro. Here you would say snowbell dot intro. So what it is different than how we were calling methods before. We would just like directly call the method name before, right? So week 4. See this one with the yeah, that's the one. Okay. I wasn't sure which one I'm supposed to look at. Let me see. So here, see, we had like these calculate speed and format output or whatever it is. And then we just directly call the name. We didn't say something dot name. Why is it different now? It is different now because of what I said. Because of this object-oriented programming, what we are trying to do is you tell me which cat you're talking about is what we are saying. We are saying, I understand that you want to introduce the cat, but I want to know which cat you're talking about. Okay, which cat are we talking about? In this case, we are talking about unknown cat. Here we are talking about Snowbell. So we want to introduce Snowbell, which means we would say Snowbell dot intro. The reason why we call it like this is this intro can only be called on a cat object. It cannot be called on a dog object if it does not have that method. You cannot call it on any other class that does not have the specific method. Okay, you actually have to call it when you call like this, the Snowbell data gets attached. It's copied. It's anytime intro is looking for a name, the name will be Snowbell. Intro is looking for an ID, the ID will be 1111. Anytime the intro is looking for age, it will be 3. So when you attach like this and call, now you know it's Snowbell's introduction, not unknown's introduction, it's Snowbell's. In this particular line 11, when it tries to write it, it is going to only write information related to Snowbell. So see, I'm switching back and forth between cat.cs and main.cs. So please remember that. So let's test this. So here, I'm not getting any input. Please remember that. I am just hard coding values so I can show you how to do it. A new cat object has been created. So first time when I called unknown, it writes that my name is unknown. My ID is 0. My age is 0. Second cat object is my name is Snowbell. My ID is 1111. My age is 3. So let's go here. See this one we want to add here also. So anytime a constructor gets called, I just want to show you. Okay, look here. So when this line gets executed, this gets written out and the values are set for that particular cat. So a copy of a cat is made and allocated for unknown cat. A copy of the cat is made and allocated for the Snowbell cat. So please remember that. So see, every time a constructor gets called, we are writing that line, and then this intro method is getting called and it is saying its name, age and ID. So we saw how to create fields. These are fields. Okay, so let me show you. If you take this unknown cat, Let's see what happens. What does it say? It gives an error. The error says cat.name is inaccessible due to its protection level. What does that mean? If you go into cat, this name is private. When I mean private, it can be accessed from the constructor, it can be accessed from intro, or any other method inside the cat class. The moment I leave the cat class and then I call it from this main.cs, it says, oh my god, this is private information, I'm not gonna let you access that. Well, if that's the case and I just want to change the name, how do I go about doing it? Well, I can make this public. If I make it public, no errors. Okay? If I make the fields public, I don't get any errors. But what's happening is I am letting internal information be available publicly, which is not desirable. So when I say it's a cat and it has ID, name and age, it's not a big deal. What if it's your social security number? What if it is your date of birth or address or anything else sensitive? You don't want that to be available for anyone and everyone. So you want to be able to control it, and then you can decide like who can create the object and who can access this particular code. You can set controls, right? So the question is, if you don't want other people to modify your field directly, you don't want people to tamper with it, you want to create another layer of wrapping on top of your fields, and that is called properties. So basically what it means is that instead of this being available directly, you control what is valid to change and what is invalid. Okay, you can make certain things read only, you can make certain things write only. Okay, you can make certain things to display a certain way. There are like so many other options like that. So it is in your control in that situation. And so on top of these fields, if you add like a wrapper on top, that is going to be called as properties. Okay, so at this point I'm going to like stop this video and then create properties in its own video. So for now, let's go back and remove this line because it will give you an error. So here's what I have so far. We recreated what we saw here. So in this method, I've just added one more method called as intro. Okay. This is what we have done so far. Okay, so we created this Nobel object. We have not done this yet. Okay, so what we did is we completed only this guy, and then we created the cat class, we created constructors, we created fields, and we created one method. So far that's what we've done. Okay, hope you find this helpful. Thank you. Bye bye.